All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new edition of Pod by the Bay. I'm your host, Nathan Bond, joined alongside me, Seth Varnadore, and Collin Sherwin joining us tonight. Some heartbreaking news Thursday afternoon. USF men's basketball head coach Amir Abdur-Rahim tragically died Thursday at a Tampa area hospital undergoing procedure. He was 43, married, 3 kids, massive family. What, he was 11. He was the 11th of 13 kids. Like outside of basketball, he was just a genuine dude, and this one freaking sucks. I don't. There's really not much else to say other than, man, what a freaking gut punch to this community. Almost 10 days before tip of what was going to be a very promising basketball season for the South Florida Bulls.
I mean, they had like a pep rally yesterday, didn't they? Or something like some big kind of preseason gathering. It was yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, there was it on campus at the new food thing on campus that I still haven't been to yet. But yeah, I I met the guy twice, and like, I'm hurting here. He's got a sister that's still playing college basketball. That's how young he is. Like his sister is still playing. I just transferred to, I think, Texas A&M. There are few people in college athletics that are universally truly respected and loved, because the nature of the business is that you either have to be hard on your staff or hard on your players or hard on, no human being can rise the level and lift all the boats in the same way. But Nate, I think you'll back me up here, and you're closer to it than I am. I don't think I've ever seen, especially in a revenue sport, because sometimes you can get some smaller coaches and some other things that can, play nicer with others and sort of go under the radar. I don't think I've ever seen a big money coach making big money in a revenue sport here that was as beloved across the board by literally everyone. Staff, coaches, players, everybody. And I think that's what makes this so much harder.
Yeah, I'll second that. There's not been one time in the year that he was on campus where a bad word was said about him. There was always something positive. He always had a great infectious smile, very passionate. I think he quiet and reserved, probably a little bit in private, but when he needed to be on, he was on. At the Bulls block party, 2 months ago, he was on.
Yeah.
He was shaking hands, going around saying hello to everybody, and it just it doesn't make a lot of sense, but not many things do. I do want to kind of read head coach Alex Goolish, who him and AAR, they kind of developed a pretty close relationship. Both first-year head coaches taking over downtrodden programs, kind of riffing off each other. He posted this onto Twitter. I'm devastated by the sudden passing of my good friend Amir Abdur-Rahim, an outstanding man, husband, father, and leader who brought tremendous positive energy to all he encountered. My heart breaks for his wife, Ariane, and his 3 children, extended family, and many friends. My prayers are, and those of our entire football program, are with him as well as his players and staff during this incredibly difficult time. Rest in peace, my brother. You saw him out at football practice a lot. They definitely developed a bond. I think a lot of the coaches develop upon. I know I haven't spoken with them since the news, but you're in the Muma Center together. Jose and him had a pretty unique relationship. Kind of the old man kind of showing the young buck around and trying to, all the nooks and crannies of Muma and everything. So my heart breaks for basically that entire athletics district, because that's just the kind of guy he was. He didn't just stick to basketball in the basketball team. He was out at everything. And you'll see in the flooding of posts on Instagram, Twitter, it's not just the basketball guys. It's softball, it's women's basketball, it's tennis, golf.
Yeah, women's golf coach. Like it seems to be.
It's everywhere.
It's everybody.
I mean, I was not in media rooms, but you've heard from several people that were several times with him. Very gracious, very go out of his way to thank people for covering the team. Thank you for coming. Like really, really nice guy. And you see that echoed by literally everyone seemingly that he met. And he went out and made like a real effort to create a program, create interest in the program. Did stuff for the students, really engaged the students really well. And like you guys have said, seems to be universally loved. And you've not seen anybody say a bad word about him. Obviously, you feel terrible for his wife and children. That's always kind of I'm sure, Nathan, that's one of your biggest fears, as when your father's, something like that happening.
Right.
And it seems like this is something he was dealing with for a long time. So, he always seemed like a guy that had a pretty good perspective on things. So, maybe this is why.
And that's the small comfort that I take is I'm not a big believer, Seth. I know you're a man of faith, but he certainly was, and I'm sure that his family was as well. And I hope that they can find some comfort in this. I mean, I don't even know what to say. 43 guys younger than I am, like 43 years old, and just out of nowhere, and somebody who had done so much and was so, well liked and thought of. I can't even express. And here's the thing: is like I've talked to a couple of basketball people today outside of USF. It wasn't just here. Like beloved across the sport nationally. You know what I mean? Like, some of the other coaches at other schools who had, ties to him, one way or the other. Everyone, and you can't get anybody in basketball. You know what I mean? Like that's just not how that industry works. Everybody's got a grudge with somebody. And they all, not just here, it was everywhere. Guy was just pure joy. And the thing that I'm thinking about now, of course, is family, and I'm glad he's got 12 brothers and sisters, because I hope they can help lift up his kids and his wife and everybody else right now. But the other thing I'm thinking about is there's a hell of a lot of kids on this team that got to go play basketball this year. And I don't know how. Imagine,
and a lot of long-term relationships with him. A lot of guys that followed him here.
Yeah.
So
Jaden Reed, look at a kid like Jaden Reed. You know what I mean? Like, I talked to somebody at Louisville today. Case Pryor. You're cracking a rotation for Louisville. It's going to be a really good team this year. And then, now what? That's got to feel like so secondary. You know what I mean? I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. And though, whenever horrible things like this happen, we get through it. We've lost players before. We lost Leroy. You know what I mean? You find a way. But it just seems right now it's just. I don't know how these kids are going to play. I just want them to to not have to worry about it. But it is what it is.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned Collin, other people kind of reaching out and kind of saying their piece about Amir, former USF head coach Seth Greenberg tweeted it. It's tragic, tremendous leader, mentor, teacher in person, thoughts with his family. Andy Kennedy, head coach of UAB, puts up the now. It's sad to hear the news. Thoughts and prayers with the family. USF men's basketball. Nicole Auerbach, Billy, former baseball coach Billy Mole, just Pete Thamel. The list kind of goes on with the Jeff Goodman. The list kind of goes on. Like, this was just a good human being, and it's just.
I would like to, you led with Andy Kennedy there. I think Amir might, if he is where he thought he would be after he passed. I hope he's pleading for some calls that he did not get in the AAC semifinal last year. Because my God, if he had just gotten a 50-50 in that game, it would have been fine. But, I mean, that's the thing is like you rarely hear of people that are like truly. Leroy was one of those, truly universally beloved by everybody. Nobody literally would ever say a bad word about him. I didn't know Amir nearly as well, of course, as I did Leroy. But by reputation, it's that same thing. There are certain people that just have that above, above most of us. Nate, you and I don't fall in that category. Seth might, but you and I definitely don't fall in that. We've pissed a few people off over the years, and that's just, so the rare people that have that light and just sort of show it constantly, to lose one of them at 43 is just beyond tragic.
And I think the thing that really dawns on you is just in how young he is, but how many places he's been and how many people he's kind of touched and all these, he's been an assistant. He was assistant all over the country in a bunch of different places, bunch of players, then head coach, obviously at Kennesaw and now at USF. So he's had a really big impact for even his age. And so you see him kind of, he's, like Florida's coach was talking about him today after he heard. It's just kind of all over. He's kind of been in a bunch of different circles and interacted with so many different people throughout college basketball and college sports that it is interesting. It's kind of wild to see how much of a impact he's had on people, how wide he was, how many people he, was able to touch throughout his career and his career that was tragically cut short. But he seemingly made the most of his time.
He wouldn't have been here long. Like I know for a fact that there was there were people talking to him, and I can think of two of them offhand who wanted him this cycle. And it didn't work out for whatever reason, but he was going to be big. He was going to be a big time coach at a big time program real soon. Maybe like this cycle, maybe this year, at latest the year after. Yeah. But he was in line for a big boy job and completely deserved it.
Yeah, and you always feel hesitant to talk, but like you're just thinking about his just from a professional standpoint, he was like you said, he was a really good coach, and like he had a really bright future in front of him. So, it sucks all the way around. There's no
the way he got that team to buy in last year, defensively especially.
They played awesome. Yeah,
I mean they were most of them played really hard defense, and then a couple of them were just not out there for defense. But the kids that were, they really committed to each other and bought in, and you could see it. I mean, somebody retweeted the Stump Miguel's press conference from last year. Man, that doesn't happen with every team and every coach. Let me tell you, nobody's doing that for Mick Cronin. Okay, just throwing it out there, not to name names, but nobody's doing that for Mick Cronin. So,
no.
Point it.
And I think Stieg shared another one that when he was at the conference championship game he got to interact with him, and AAR kind of said, "Hey, you should check out this commencement speech. This is something I show my players by Chadwick Boseman." Also, kind of tragically passed away without anybody knowing anything, So, and so Astique shared that, and I think she's probably shared in Discord and on Twitter. But it's a really interesting speech about having a purpose, making an impact. So yeah, man, he's tough day, all around.
Yeah, this is definitely going down as one of the worst days in USF history. I think Leroy's death is probably one, and then, I mean, what's honestly kind of crazy is this is the second first-year head coach for men's basketball that has died in the off season.
That's right. Wow,
it's just
that can't
weird.
That can't happen very often.
Like there's been 11 permanent head coaches at USF, and after one season, 2 of them have died. The other was Bill Gibson after a 15-10 season in like the 70s. It's weird. I don't. Just in general,
what do you? I mean, basketball wise, whatever happens this year happens. There's whatever. It's just sort of like, okay, this year's over. We'll figure it out. If these kids can find a way, awesome. If not,
I think it's
completely understandable. And you just sort of have to start. And then, MK, I don't know if there's anybody else that I would want in this spot, because he'll, whatever we want, you can say whatever you want about, athletic director. And there are certainly people on Twitter who don't find him as good at this stuff as I do. But he's a man of conscience. He is also a man of faith. And I think he will do everything that he can to carry these kids through what's going to be in just the most awkward, weird. This is so bizarre. This is just awful. And I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, and I think it's almost incumbent upon the USF fan base to really kind of wrap your arms around this team, around these players. Come out, be really supportive. Come out, cheer. All that kind of stuff. I think will help them go back to a sense of normalcy, because I'm sure it will take a while. But I think, like you said, results this year kind of feel secondary, right? But come out, support the team. I think you can really, really help these guys in that way. So I think there's something the fan base can do to kind of help these guys out a little bit. Really come out, support them. And it seemed like the support this year for basketball was going to be really, really good. So
I don't get to leave the house anymore during college basketball Saturdays. As both you guys know, I'm, basically chained on my desk until championship weekend. But Army Navy is the 14th, and so is USF at Utah State. And I was 100% going to Logan. I could not wait. That's a bucket list gym for me, and I could not wait for that game. And now I don't know. I mean, I still want to go. You know what I mean? But it just feels like so. Like it. Well, it's almost like you just sort of like see how they feel and see what they think. You know what I mean? And see how things go for them and what they need. Because I'm more worried about those kids and his family than anything. But I was so looking forward to the season. I was trying to figure out a way to get to Dallas and to get to Vegas for my usual tournament this year, because I thought they were going to be good. And I don't know.
What do you guys think? I mean, I think it's probably, this could be too early to even ask. So if it is, I mean, what do you guys think his legacy will be here? And how can you...
The guy who fixed it.
Yeah,
the guy who showed it could be done.
Right.
Yeah.
And how can you kind of honor that? How do you think the school could honor that legacy or honor him in some way? Is that something you think may happen?
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
so weird because it's a 1 year, but it's such a big impact, such historic success.
Yeah, you do something like, I mean, we're going beyond a jersey patch here. Like, we're doing something for him that's going to be permanent and last. But I don't know. They'll find it. They'll do it right. I
Is
got
it
faith in USF on these types of
is
things.
it
They
Bobby
handle it
up in the
well.
rafters? Pascal, isn't he
Is
up in the
Bobby up there?
rafters?
He might be.
I
If he
could have
is,
sworn he is. I think that could be definitely something.
Bobby, 2 NCAA tournaments in how long is he here? 10 years, 12 years, something like that. Yeah. I mean, I think you do something for the guy who won your first conference championship in 30 plus years. And more importantly, beyond what they did on the court, sold out Sundomes. Like, in my lifetime, I went to multiple games last year and there was not a ticket available. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. Like, this was, famously, Dickie Veek said it was the hardest job in America. It has been that for a long time. And he just went, this ain't the same old South Florida. And, just wouldn't listen to any of us, wouldn't listen to anybody who says it's a tough job, wouldn't just said, I'm going to bring my guys, we're going to do this. And they did. And it was so much his belief that translated into the success that losing him, that's why I just think that these kids are going to be, because he was what galvanized them. And he was clearly a force for good in their lives away from basketball. And that's why I think this is going to be, so tough. Because that was more, look, we all know some coaches that are like, all right, you're here to practice, you're here to play, and there's not a lot of personal there. And there's more than one way to skin the cat. Like, you can win doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple ways to have success. There's multiple, I'm not knocking coaches that are a little more distant. I wasn't this guy.
No.
And I think that's what makes it so tough.
Yeah. We'll kind of wrap up this kind of episode. Just wanted to kind of share some initial thoughts on, some inside baseball. I mean, you and I were in the same text thread when.
Yeah, we found out at the same time.
And
I thought it was a typo. I'm not kidding.
Like,
first time I was like, okay, I thought it was a typo. And
then you just kind of start digging around and you're like, okay. And then more information starts to trickle out and you're like, oh, okay, so this is a thing. And,
and also some people go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ethically, I was not touching that.
No.
So
no, neither.
I think the right person broke the news. I think Joey Knight at the Tampa Bay Times absolutely got it cleared by staff and everybody to be the one. And we just weren't touching that with a 50 football.
We knew, and we just knew that this was not for us. And that and Joey handled this, really well. I think it's got a big family. There's a lot of people to call. There's a lot of coaches to reach out to. A lot of, it's weird. I don't know anyone in his family, but I know that a lot of people in basketball knew long before you and I did, Nate. People that I were talking to today were like, one of them said to me, I saw the text and I thought it, like I did. He said, I saw the text from somebody. I was like, that can't be right. So, and that person found out like this morning, like early morning, afternoon. So Yeah, it's just I just still can't believe I can't believe we're having this conversation. Yeah, USF will handle it well. They always do. And whatever his family needs and his kids need, and those kids are not just the 3 that are his biological, but the 12 to 15 that are on his team right now too. We all got to be here for him.
Yeah, absolutely. With that, thanks for tuning in. Sorry, the somber one, but rest in peace, Amir Abdur-Rahim. To God be the glory. This was not the same old South Florida. Thank you for everything. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.